Let me say this though about Jordan Love real quick. Going up against that Kansas City defense, he could look great. Because you could score some points on that defense because everybody's been scoring points on that defense. So it could be one of those indicators like, man, this guy's the next coming of Aaron Rodgers because that defense is so bad in Kansas City.
We're heading into week 9, and there are some huge storylines with the Hall of Famer and birthday boy, greatest show on turf, left tackle Orlando Pace, and the 7-time Pro Bowler, best gambler in the history of gambling, 16-6, Nick Mangold, another 3-0 week. Follow Nick Mangold, your life just becomes better. Gentlemen, welcome in. Congratulations, Nick. Let's just start there. You deserve some props.
I appreciate that. Thank you, but I do not want to take away from Orlando's birthday week. I wish that we were together so we could share some cake. Me being an offensive lineman, I love cake. I assume Orlando also loves cake. We should be enjoying cake together. So it's disappointing that we aren't together, but either way, happy birthday, Orlando.
Well, thank you, Nick. That means so much, man. And no, by all means, celebrate your 3-0 week, man. You are just making people money at this point, man, which is big. So
making it rain.
Sprinkle a little bit of money. And do it again this week. I got a feeling.
You like the board? You like the board this week?
Oh, I like the board, and it's all underdogs. I love it.
All right, we're starting today with the big news in the NFL that came out today that Aaron Rodgers is in the COVID protocol. He is not going to play against the Chiefs in 99.9% likelihood and could be missing more than that. And interestingly, Rodgers basically caught lying. He was asked back in August, are you vaccinated? He said yes, then proceeded to say he was immunized, which is not vaccinated, but he did say yes. I'm curious how this registers in a locker room where clearly the Packers have had some different rules for their best player. Does this, and now of course he's going to miss time. Nick, would this bother you? How would this register in a Jets locker room back in the day?
So this is where my head is with this whole thing, because it came out, everyone's running to the vaxxed, unvaxxed. He should have been vaxxed. He shouldn't have, like that whole thing. And that's beside the point. That is, personal choice. I do not care. The big thing for me is how he was treated by the Green Bay Packers, because if they knew all along that he was unvaxxed, which I think there was a report that came out that he had tried to get a clearance from the NFL because he had some sort of other treatment. And I don't know the full, like I've been trying to gather information, but it seems to be very difficult. So if he was considered an unvaxxed player, he did the protocols as an unvaxxed player within the team realm. So I don't know what they are, but I think it was like wearing masks and not being able to go to dinner on an away trip, different things within the protocols. If he wasn't doing those and then he gets popped and it come to find out he's unvaxxed, that would cause a problem in the locker room. If he was doing all the protocols and following everything, step in line with what the NFL was asking for, and he pops positive, I think the locker room is going to be upset because obviously you're losing Aaron Rodgers, who's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. But at the same time, they're not going to fault him. No one's going to fault you for getting COVID. Like, you can't say, well, it's your fault you got COVID. I think it's a very two different world situation. And I don't know if we're ever going to know. And I think this is going to be an NFL investigation because the Packers, obviously, I saw a statement that the NFL was like, it's up to each club. So the NFL is going to investigate. But we all know how NFL investigations go with the 650,000 emails that, we've forgotten a bunch of them. What's going to come out? And so that's where it lies. Like, that's the big thing. And you're going to see that in the locker room. Is it, he was following protocol and just got the bad hand, or wasn't following protocol and now he's out? And it's like, well, listen, you were treating him this way. What are we going to do now?
The one thing that would rub me the wrong way, and Nick mentioned it also, was just if you're out just being reckless, if you're out just hanging out in crowds of people, going to dinner, doing the things that you're not supposed do as a unvaccinated player, that would probably rub me the wrong way. It's funny because I was just giving Green Bay credit for they had so much turmoil at the beginning of the year, Aaron Rodgers and the coach and the staff, and then they come out. You don't really ever see teams win ball games the way they won ball games with so much turmoil at the beginning of the season about a quarterback not wanting to be in Green Bay. So when you look at this, it's starting to come down and starting to crumble a little bit because I'm sure the Green Bay Packers, their front office, everybody up there is probably a little disappointed and thinking that Aaron is probably, I wouldn't say purposely, but he's probably he's doing something that's negatively affecting the ball club.
I mean, he was going to come back or he was going to retire, and then he decided that he was going to play, and now it's the last dance, and nothing really, I'm not sensitive, but yet you couldn't be honest about your vaccination status, but yet you're Aaron Rodgers, so you help us win football games. Like, there's a lot that goes into this. I thought one interesting comment came from the head coach, Matt LaFleur. He was asked, was he being dishonest to the players with the way he answered it? And LaFleur says, that's a question for Aaron. So this isn't an opportunity, right, for the Packers to back him and maybe rethink what they're doing. Look around. Tom Brady's winning Super Bowls in Tampa. Maybe it doesn't look that great to move on from the guy, but he's saying that's a question for Aaron. And now we get to see Jordan Love. So I don't know. To me, there's an opportunity for Green Bay right now. What do you think about that side of it, Nick? Like, they could back him or they could not.
Yeah, and that's, obviously I don't think the organization has been backing him when we were going through everything in the spring, so I don't think they're going to back him now. But you bring up Jordan Love, and that's kind of the interesting part where, Aaron's obviously out for this game, possibly out for the next game. If Jordan Love comes in, and he comes into a great situation, they got a good defense running, they have some weapons, they have a run game. This guy has sat behind Aaron Rodgers. Whether or not Aaron's helped him, I have no idea. But at least, it's probably by osmosis, things are going to rub off from one of the quarterback greats. He's coming into a place where he can kind of position himself and be like, listen, you guys don't need Aaron anymore. I'm here. You drafted me. I'm now ready to go. And so if Aaron doesn't play for the next 2 games and, Jordan Love plays lights out, now we kind of have a quarterback controversy in Green Bay, which in the football gods world of just everything being crazy, like that, it would play into the drama of the greatest reality TV show that is the NFL.
Yeah, I think with Jordan Love, I think if Aaron is out multiple games, I think it's a good opportunity for them to see what they have at quarterback, because obviously at the end of the year, Aaron's gone. I think he signed a 1-year deal. He's out the door. He's ready to move on and do something different. So you want to see what you have in Jordan Love, and is he that quarterback for the future? So, and if he wins the next 2 ball games for Green Bay, it could create a little controversy, although Aaron is probably clearly the better quarterback at this time.
I mean, the line is shot up here. Nobody thinks that Green Bay can win with Jordan Love. Orlando, you giving him a shot?
I don't think so. I think it's too much going on in that locker room. And we didn't even mention, obviously, if they're not backing Aaron in terms of being honest about being vaccinated or not. If we're in the locker room and you're telling me you're vaccinated and it comes out you're not vaccinated, that could create an issue as well. So
exactly. And I'm looking at, what's amazing to me is Vegas, knows so much more than the rest of us know. When the line came out that the Chiefs, I think it came out at -6 for the Chiefs, I was blown away. I was like, how is this possible? The Chiefs barely beat the Giants. What are we looking at? I feel like they were already in the know that this was coming down the pike. It blows my mind how fantastic Vegas is.
And let me say this though about Jordan Love real quick. Going up against that Kansas City defense, he could look great. Because you could score some points on that defense, because everybody's been scoring points on that defense. So it could be one of those indicators like, man, this guy's the next coming of Aaron Rodgers, because that defense is so bad in Kansas City.
It's a 7-point spread right now up to, if you go to wynnbet.com, WYNNBET.com. All right. It'll be a very interesting Sunday afternoon here, and we'll see what happens down the line with Aaron. But let's look at Kyler Murray. He's got an ankle injury, going to be missing at least 1, maybe up to 3 weeks. How do you think that changes the dynamic of the NFC right now? Green Bay, that line's going to move too, but they were at plus 400, Arizona plus 500. And then the MVP conversation, Murray plus 450, Rodgers plus 100. So now we got an ankle injury, and those things can linger. Orlando, would you be how worried are you for Murray and the Cardinals?
Not as much. I think they have a pretty solid team around them. But the thing that I think long term, this could be beneficial for him actually, because I've watched the last 3 or 4 games and he's taken a beating. So take 3, up to 3 weeks off and get ready for a playoff run. Obviously, because he's a smaller quarterback, man, and he's been taking some hits. So ankle injury, taking a couple games off could really be beneficial long term in making that playoff run.
Yeah, I look at it kind of both ways, because the Cardinals kind of rely on Kyler Murray as their juice. And, with him out, I think it's going to be difficult for them to win games without him. But I am still, you look at the game this week against the 49ers, they're still only +1, and that's a 49ers home game. So there's still confidence in that team. They have a fantastic defense that's going to get after things. So I'm not overly concerned. It is good to get him the rest. But at the same time, when I dealt with a lot of ankle injuries over my career and did and when you go through those things, they do hurt. They also have ways medically with maybe a small needle to take care of things for the game time. You feel terrible afterwards, but if it comes down to it where he needs to be able to play, if they're starting to lose games and it's just not getting right, I think they can fix things. I think Kyler Murray's kind of the engine that runs that team, where if it starts going bad, they're going to push him to get out there as soon as possible.
Colt McCoy. Anybody want to name their favorite all-time backup quarterback that never goes away? Because mine would be Josh McCown, for the record. I love that guy. He was great with the Bears.
Oh, yeah.
Josh. How many teams did he get? He got 15 teams.
Wow.
I think he played for every team in the NFL.
Did he play for every?
No, he didn't. He didn't.
Yeah, no. It's a real possibility. He played for all of them.
Yeah. The man just kept popping up year after year all the way into his 40s. It was impressive. All right, hey, let's go trade deadline. Come and gone, and just a huge move by the Rams and the Broncos. Von Miller, who's going to end up in the Hall of Fame, gets sent out of Denver emotionally. He did not want to go, but has a chance now to win a Super Bowl. 2nd and 3rd round pick. Huge payment by the Rams. But hey, the question is, does it put them over the top? Are they now your Super Bowl favorite? Orlando, what do you think?
Of course, I was excited when I saw this come across my social media to see Von go out to LA. Because what are you going to do? You got AD, Aaron Donald in the middle. You have Von Miller. You got Ramsey on the back end. They are loading up this year for all the moves that they're making. Now they probably won't have a draft pick for the next 10 years, but obviously they got some horses on that defensive side that can stop a team like Arizona with Kyler. And they're gearing up for Tom Brady and all these different teams, but that type of pressure on defense with Von Miller, Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, they're going to be tough to score on. They just need to hold opposing teams to 14, 17 points and let the offense do the rest. So I am excited about this move. They gave up a lot, but I think it'll pay dividends in the end.
Yeah, I think it's a great move for the Rams. I was slow on Matt Stafford early on. I'm now on to the train. I think that they have something going there. And this presents such a problem for opposing offensive coordinators. You look at you have Von Miller and you have Aaron Donald, 2 guys that you usually always double team. If you do that, that leaves you with only 1 offensive lineman to block 2 other defensive linemen. That's impossible. And, it creates matchups that you're just not ready for. And the other big thing is now the Rams have the luxury of not having to blitz. They have a pass rush that can get to the quarterback with 2 premier guys, and they can leave 7 guys deep. And I think the picks are going to come. I think interceptions are going to be huge for the Rams, and turnovers help win games. I think it's a great addition. And I feel bad for every team that has to go against the Rams, especially that offensive line.
No first, no second, no fourth, no sixth in 2022 for the Rams. So all in. Denver, though, is 4-4. They're in the mix here for a playoff spot. If you're in the Broncos locker room and Von Miller's gone, does it impact your motivation coming into this week?
I think it does. I think it sends a signal from the front office that, hey, we're looking towards the future. And they're right in the mix. They're a 500 team, obviously, trying to figure it out. And you remove one of your leaders that's been a staple in your organization for years. What does that say? What direction are we going in the future? And it looks like it's draft picks, picking up more draft capital, and trying to move forward towards the future.
I look at it, and I was just looking up the schedule there. It looks like Denver has only beat the Giants, the Jets, the Jags, and the Washington football team. So when we say that they're 4-4, I might be a little elevated. 4-4. I know the Jets are starting to figure things out. The Giants played KC tough, but is KC any good? The Jags obviously are terrible. And the Washington football team, which we thought had a great defense, turned out to be not. So I'm not sold on the Broncos. I think it obviously is a very difficult place to play in, so they have that extreme home field advantage. But I think they understand, and especially watching this trade happen, the front office understands that this isn't the team that's going to win everything, and they need to prepare. I wonder how long it's going to take to seep in. Like, this game this week is going to be intriguing to see what that defense comes out. Are they flying around trying to get after people, or is it more of a sluggish attempt that's going to tell you everything for the rest of the season for the Broncos?
Speaking of teams who haven't beaten anyone, let's talk about Kansas City, who added Melvin Ingram at the deadline. Not a huge splash move. He wasn't playing much for Pittsburgh, but there might be some gas left in the tank. They've beaten Cleveland, Washington, the Giants. I mean, it has not been the Eagles. It has not exactly been a powerhouse run for the Chiefs. We've all seen their struggles. Can they get right with one minor adjustment to their defense, Nick?
I don't know. The defense seems to have so many issues. I don't know if one guy is going to change it. And the other thing about Kansas City is they're just giving the ball away like crazy. Patrick Mahomes throwing interceptions. I think he had 2 fumbles. What is it? It's 10 interceptions and 2 fumbles. Like, if you're giving the ball away, you're having a hard time winning. And it's because he's trying to do too much. He's trying to be what everyone thinks he is, and that's unworldly, instead of just being the quarterback. So one piece, it might give him a bump. Is it going to change things over the course of the season? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think that defense is terrible, and a lot of people aren't talking about what that offense is doing. Nick mentioned the turnovers. Their offensive line is horrendous. I watched them the other night. They were getting beat, which kind of speeds up Patrick's clock a little bit, and which in turns, causes turnovers with some of the throws that he's making. So there's a bigger problem in Kansas City. Defense is obviously a huge problem that's been talked about, but their offense isn't doing nearly as much as they did in the past, and that's a bigger problem.
All right. We're going to my favorite topic on the rundown today, because it's very rare that we get to talk Jets, Jets. Your guy, Zach Wilson, who is trying to rebound from an injury and some shaky play, let's put it like that. The Jets are bringing in John Beck, who's a former NFL quarterback and has worked with Zach Wilson, and they've just added him to the coaching staff, which is kind of odd in the middle of the year. Do we like this move for your Jets, Nick? How does it move around in the old locker room here? You had a young man play an incredible game last week and throwing for 405 yards in Mike White, and now they got a personal coach for Zach Wilson. This is kind of interesting. I don't know. Are the Jets doing the right thing here?
Yeah, I look at it as the backup quarterback is supposed to come in and hold down the fort until the starting quarterback is healthy again. And that's what he did. Now, he did it at a fantastic level. I will give you that. But at the same time, you look at when a backup quarterback comes in, usually that first game, they tend to do well because defensive coordinators have never seen this person before, unless you have someone around. This Mike Wright has been in, I think, 3 years, so there's not a lot of film on him to say, all right, here's what they're going to do with him. And they had a great game plan. They did a lot of some trickery in there, and they made the plays to get the game and win. Seeing a personal quarterback coach come in, I don't think would be that big of a problem. I understand the reasoning. It was forget who was talking about. I don't know if it was head coach or the coordinator, but they were talking about, if he is going to be spending time, which it was documented that he went back out and spent time with him over the bye week. If he's going to be spending time with them and going over things, they want him to use the same verbiage and want him to make sure that, when we're talking about different plays, drops, routes, that we're all saying the same thing. So it makes sense. And I also saw in that same press conference that he wasn't just working with Zach. So it's not like he's sitting in next to his locker. He's the only one talking to him. He is working with all the quarterbacks. And I think that makes sense. And it seems like they've been in contact with this guy, this Beck fellow, even during the draft when they were getting ready to draft him. So it seems like there was already a relationship there. It's now kind of solidifying it. And for me, it doesn't move the needle. I don't know if I was actually sitting in the locker room, how I would feel about that. But me outside the locker room, having been in the locker room, and we'll do that in a big circle, I'm good with it.
So I guess my only thought on, and I disagree with you a little bit, what is the quarterback and offensive coordinator doing? Can they not develop this guy? Is this a statement of them saying, hey, we need to bring somebody else in because they're not the right guys to develop Zach Wilson at this point? And the other issue I have with it, I think it's just too much noise in the quarterbacks here. You got 3 or 4 coaches telling him, what he should be doing. And I think that could actually ruin the kid. And if I'm the Jets, hey, Zach, if you want to get personal coaching on your own time or whatever it might be, hey, have at it on a Tuesday. Talk to John, talk to Beck and see if he can help your career out. But I think it's too much noise, and it's almost a slap in the face to the coaches you have on staff in terms of your quarterback coach, who's almost like and Nick, this, we've been in locker rooms. That quarterback offensive coordinator guy is almost like a personal coach anyway, because he spends a lot of time with that quarterback anyway. So what does that say about the quarterbacks you have on your staff?
Mike White was a 5th-round pick in 2018 out of Western Kentucky by the Cowboys, and then he ends up on the Jets, and then he ends up throwing for over 400 yards and making a New Jersey better $125,000. We'll get to that in a second. If he keeps going, don't you let this guy roll? Nick, wouldn't you want to see him at QB in the green and white? If he keeps on, or you got to go back to your guy.
Yeah, I mean, this is where it's going to get tricky for the coaching staff, because if he continues to roll, and I think they have another great opportunity this week on Thursday night, where it's a short week, like I said, with defensive coordinators not being able to prepare for quarterbacks on the backup quarterbacks for the first try. Now you're getting into a short week where you don't have a lot of preparation again. He could have another good week. If you're stringing along 400+ yard games, when Zach does get healthy, you kind of have to, I think you got to, fingers crossed, close your eyes and hope that whatever is working with the play calls and with the other players around, that he can come in and do the same thing. Because otherwise you're going to create a QB controversy. And I feel like we've been doing that now in the Jets for the past, 8-10 years, and it's getting kind of old.
This is it's very different for me because we've been around the NFL for a long time, and this is what happens with backup quarterbacks. Come in, first game, play really well. Then defensive coordinators tend to get a book on you and understand your tendencies and what you do, and they disguise coverages and do different things like that. And I always say you're a backup for a reason, right? You've been around for a few years, and there's a reason you're a backup. And defensive coordinators will find a way to expose you, and you'll be like, dude, I thought he was our future. And he'll throw three interceptions later in the game. You'd be like, hey, let's go back to Zach Wilson. he's more like our future. So, obviously a flash in the pan, backup quarterbacks, that's what they do because teams aren't prepared for those guys when they come in games. So
fair enough. All of us here at Big Man Bets would like to congratulate the small business owner in New Jersey who is being quoted as the better, who made a $1,000 bet on 125-1 odds that Mike White would throw for the most yardage in a week. And he's like, the Jets are always playing from behind, so he's going to have to throw a lot. That D sucks. I'll take a shot at it. And now he's rolling 125K deep. That's big time, right? I mean, that's better than what Big Man Bets has been doing. You guys want to tip your cap?
I'll tip my cap right away.
Is he a relative? Is he a relative of Mike White's or something? Is that what it is? But yeah, anytime you put a $1,000 bet on a backup quarterback that obviously hadn't performed, more power to it. I'll tip my hat to him every day if he continues to make those bets.
Yeah, I mean, I love doing long shots. I love having a good time with it. But if you catch me doing anything over like $5, come check on me. $1,000 on 125-1, just like I can't even comprehend, because when you make that bet at 125-1, you're assuming you're losing it. So you're just assuming you're losing $1,000. I don't understand.
Yeah. $1,000 is a lot that you're just saying goodbye to. I hope maybe he's a rich dude or somebody who might have a slight issue, but either way, this was a good day for him. Just any, like, your top bet that you ever made, do either of you have something like that where you'd be like, it reminded me of when I put $5 on whatever, some horse that came in on a 60-1 shot?
I'm still waiting on that horse, man. It hadn't happened to me yet. I wish I could put a little money in 5 or 10 or even $100 on something, and the odds are that great where the upset pays off big like that. I haven't been that fortunate yet in my life, so hopefully over the next couple of years something like that happens. So
I got sucked in this year in March Madness. I don't know what it was. I'm not a big college basketball guy, but for some reason this year's March Madness just seemed exciting to me. So I was down in the basement. We have the TVs going, and I'm watching the games. And there was I forget the two games that were playing, or the game that was playing in the two teams, but it was like a 2 seed and a 14 seed, or a 15 seed, and like they got up big on them early in the first half. And I think it got to the end of it, and they were up like 20 points or something crazy. And the money line had switched where the number 2 seed was at like plus 400 or plus 450, something crazy. And I was like, there's no way that this, like they started off slow. There's no way they lose. So I threw some money on it, watched the game. They came back and won. It was one of the happiest things, paying attention to the game and seeing that switch. Like it was a good bet. And that got me through the rest of March Madness, which was fantastic.
That's awesome. Congratulations. And I think we should roll right into our picks on that note, because why not just stay hot right now? And speaking of staying hot, Nick, 3-0 last week. You had the Titans, knowing that Derrick Henry was going to make it through the game. We'll miss you, Derrick Henry. That's too bad for Tennessee. You had Green Bay. I'm sorry, Orlando had Green Bay in the upset of the week. But Nick, you had your upset of the week. You believed in the Saints over the Bucks. You had the over/under on Dallas and Minnie, taking the under and winning by a ton. Nick, 16-6, buddy. Congratulations here. You want to give us your pick of the week so we can all make some dough?
Thank you. I know that the tide is going to turn back around. Everything, water always finds its level, but not this week. Not this week. This week, I love the board. There's a ton of games where I'm intrigued by the dogs, but for my pick of the week, I cannot take a dog. I am taking the Rams at -7.5 versus Tennessee Titans. I think that the Titans are going to be lost without Derrick Henry. Their offense is going to sputter. Adrian Peterson is not going to be the guy that they think he is. They're not going to be able to run the ball like they do. Tannehill will have to put it on his shoulders, and with the addition of Von Miller, there's no way that they're able to pass their way to get the win. So the Rams are going to take it by over a touchdown and a half. Pick of the week, Rams -7.5.
Ooh, taking a heavy favorite on the pick of the week. Orlando.
For me, I'm keeping it in Ohio. I'm going the Cincinnati Bengals -2.5 over the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland has so much turmoil. They've been probably the most disappointing team, obviously in the league right now. And Cincinnati's really coming up playing well. So excited so I'm going with Cincinnati -2.5.
Interesting. Betting on the Bengals. I feel like somewhere there's a bounce back week for the Browns, but I like it. Let me get an upset from you, Orlando.
I'm going with the Houston Texans.
Oh.
They played well second half last week. Although it was the Rams backup, I'm going Houston Texans over the Miami Dolphins. They're getting 7 points on the week. So they got to get a victory at some point. But I think this is the week that they come up and play well against the Miami Dolphins.
On the road, even. Impressive.
On the road.
Wow.
I love it. The Dolphins should never be 7-point favorites against anybody. So I love that pick. My pick is a little dicey, but I do like it. I'm going Giants are +3 versus the Raiders. It's at home at MetLife Stadium. The Raiders are going to be a West Coast team traveling to the East Coast. That always gets a little dicey for those West Coast teams. I think the Giants played well against Kansas City and unfortunately lost for them. I think they'll take that as motivation, even though I don't know that they should. And they'll take that momentum into this game against the Raiders and kind of slap them around. It's probably going to be a little colder. Raiders aren't going to be ready for it. I think it's a +3 is an easy one.
I like that play, not to bring the room down, but just the tragedy that's going on with Henry Ruggs. That's got to resonate in the locker room in a huge negative way, and just an awful story. Prayers for the person who lost their life in the car accident, and just a rough time all around here. All right, let's do over-unders to wrap it up here. Nick, you're up with your over-under.
All right, so this one I struggled with. If you look at the over-unders on the boards, it was very difficult. It's a very tight over-under board. The one I went with is the Patriots and Panthers. They're sitting at 41.5. The Patriots did a 50-burger on the Jets just 2 weeks ago. So they're capable of scoring and making that over happen on their own. And so I'm assuming that's going to happen again. Fingers crossed. I'm taking the over 41.5 on the Patriots Panthers.
Okay. Hey, for me, I'm going Minnesota Vikings and the Baltimore Ravens. There's 49.5, and I am going with the over. Believe it or not, obviously I think Lamar Jackson will have a big day, and they'll win big, but I think the over 49.5.
And just for the record, we're giving Nick a lot of love here today, but Orlando is riding 500, 11-11, not out of it, can get hot. Nick can get cold. I'd love to see you both stay hot, or Orlando, you get hot, and Nick, you stay hot. But let's not sleep on what Pace has been bringing to the table here with a nice 500, sleeping on him and about to perhaps go big here week 9 on the rest of the way. Big man bets in the books here for week 9. I like to call it big man bets.
Good little growl to it. I like it.
Yes, a little growl. Appreciate you guys. Good luck. And hey, let's see what happens with this Green Bay situation. Should be interesting.
Should be fun. Thank you very much.